Well, thank you everyone for joining us here on Global Television. This is how we especially welcome you to Global Morning. We're in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Udi Agmofogbe. It's an amazing day upon us. What more can we say than to stay grateful and ensure we make the most of this day, which is, in all ramification, a blessing that we need to maximize. And my colleague, Ramsey Enoch-Agbo, as always, is looking dapper on the show this morning. Ramsey, it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. It's so beautiful to be with you on Global Morning today again. And of course, things are unfolding.
Right.
And we need to be here because the people deserve to know.
They should, by all means.
They should. Of course, we are promising that it's going to be a smooth sail this morning. Right. My name is Ramsey Enoch-Agbo. Many thanks, everyone, for joining us on Global Morning today.
Well, it's not so pleasant to start the news. Start the show with a piece of not very pleasant news about what's happening right now in Guinea-Bissau. But that will be at the twilight of the show today. We'll bring you up to speed on that real quick because that appears to be a very big conversation on the continent right now. But let's domesticate our conversation real quick. It will appear the president now is more than ever before showing to Nigerians and indeed everyone watching that, look, the whole time we've not been playing about insecurity, but more than ever before, we want to show fruits for the efforts we've been making these entire 2+ years that we've been in office. First of all, we understand the president is now telling armed herders to say, look, you've got to surrender your arms and ammunition. Second is saying, look, emergency has been declared across the country in terms of insecurity. So there's now an emergency on insecurity beyond the one that had been declared on agriculture the other time, at least on 2 occasions. All right. The president is also now saying that, look, going forward, we need to have a system where our policing is strengthened, and he has directed 20,000 men be recruited into the police, which in itself is very, very brilliant. And the Senate is also saying, the National Assembly basically, that look, we can't afford to negotiate with these bandits. But again, that is neither here nor there. We must understand exactly what the context is. If you say you're not negotiating, because that has also been a concern expressed by many people in the recent times, especially in the light of the very nasty incidents we saw in KB and Niger State. We're going to break all of that down for our viewers to understand. But in the meantime, does this sound like some piece of good news?
Well, it is to an extent, but then I think someone said something. He said, well, it has been said on paper, but we need to see the actions that will back that statement.
Right.
First of all, we started commending the president since he withdrew 100,000 policemen from VIPs. And of course, now he's calling for recruitment of more men into the military, both soldier, the police, even DSS. As a matter of fact, it's even given credence as it is right now to the forest officers, you know. And of course, I think that's a good move in the right direction. But all of these, we should also be concerned about the strategy, our level of intelligence, because a lot of people have said the problem right now is not that these people are overpowering our military, but then how does information leak to these bandits that they keep laying ambush from time to time? What is the rationale behind withdrawal of armed policemen or maybe security operatives before the strike? What are the rationales behind, all right, they just passed, the military just passed, then they struck, or the military were ambushed and all of that? So I think it's a good instruction that has been given. The implementation is key. The monitoring is key. The evaluation is key. That's the only way we can know where we are per time, if we're doing well or we are not doing well. At this point in time, you said something. You said, from your statement, what I deduce is that it's not like the military have not been doing so much.
Right.
But now they are putting another foot forward to show Nigerians the fruit of their labor all the years, 2 years plus running that this administration came into office. And one of the major issue they met on ground is insecurity.
Right.
And of course, if the president has given that instruction and it's being carried out, we can have enough military officers, but if the strategy is not there, because number one, it is not let's say, for instance, there is something inside, all right, that is biting, because they say if you see the toad jumping in the daylight, it's either something is after it or it's after something. So that's something, you understand, that something needs to be dealt with first of all, before we even talk about the toad itself.
Right.
So if you don't want to see the drama of the toad, then that something needs to be addressed in the first place. If we are dealing with bandits, we should also put up mechanisms that will deal with the sponsors. As I read where a senator was saying, banditry in Nigeria is becoming like a job. People look at it as a job right now, and they are recruiting people into it. You understand? In the name of they need money. Someone said something, and he said a kidnapper told them before that they are working for people. They are on salary and all of that. These are intelligent informations that should be investigated.
Right.
So if these things are well investigated, coupled with this instruction coming from the federal government, the president himself, I think by now the bandits should be running through the borders. They should be flying out of the country as it is.
Ramsey, there's a lot to talk about in this regard. It's no longer an allegation that there are sponsors behind these criminals, by whatever name, whether they are called bandits, insurgents, ISWAP operatives, or kidnappers. They are sponsors. I mean, that is very glaring when you look at the systems, the infrastructure, so to speak, with which they operate. These are not random people, right? How do they collect ransom? What is the means of transfer of this ransom? We hear in some cases they put money in bags and all of that. How are they so smart that in most cases they don't get busted while at it? There's a system. How do they get the sophisticated arms and ammunition, all right, at their disposal that they use? How are they able to get intel on targets, sometimes high-profile targets, like in the case of former Deputy Speaker up north, for example? How are they able to do that? How are they able to find their way around areas that one would have thought nobody goes into? How did they understand geography and infographics and all of those issues, around the different areas in the north, all right? How did they know all of that? How are they able to come to an area and all of a sudden they know who to take out, they know who to tie hands and legs, they know people by their names, they understand the local language and things like that? I mean, how are they able to even use devices? Internet, for example, they use tablets, they are on social media, they have smartphones.
They talked on
exactly
TikTok the other day.
And they are not being tracked.
I think it's I don't know. This situation is so serious and that I wouldn't want to use the word, these questions, if you put them together, it is something that calls for some kind of scrutiny to an extent.
Right.
The people in these positions, the internet service providers, who is in charge? What's the Minister of Communication doing about this? Because all of this is within his jurisdiction, of course. And these people are coming to collect ransom. Is there no tracking device that can be put under that money? As they pick the Ghana must go and they are walking away, then it will be tracked. It will be tracking them until they are being arrested. Is it that somebody somewhere is not even bothered because the thing is not pinching him or her directly? Right. These are questions. But the global world is looking at Nigeria as not being serious about the whole situation because of the way some of these things happens. You can see people coming on a bike in a broad daylight to come kidnap children from school, and nobody is even saying K. Even if a hawk is coming to pick a chick, the owner or whoever that is around shout, hey, K. But in this situation, I don't know why these things are happening like this. Nobody is even shouting. Somebody was saying something here the other day on the desk, and he said, well, this is a country where you see checkpoints. You go to the road you're traveling, there's a checkpoint here, there's a checkpoint there, just very close to them.
To what end?
To what end? You know, but all of these things, like the questions you've asked, these are questions that the authorities should be asking. And this is elementary questions. So
right.
The intelligent people, if they come today, they know what to do. Remember Nigeria? Somebody said something, I don't know how true because I didn't follow it up. He said, if Nigerian police want to walk, they can track anyone to anywhere. They can pick you from anywhere if you commit a crime in this country. So if we have that level of intelligence and brilliant men of the Nigerian police force who can execute all of this, why not at least put this thing to a test to an extent? Let's say, because these people are not in the bush 247. Sometimes they even come out to mix with the people in the community. In some communities, they even know them. You know, we heard in a community right here in Nigeria where the farmers will need to pay taxes to these people to enable them go to farm.
To have access to their farmlands.
To their farmlands. So can we now say these people are not known?
Incidentally, the Office of the National Security Advisor has quite a number of arms, or if you like, branches that focus squarely on counter-terrorism, all right? And issues around cyber fraud and all of those concerns around terror financing and all of that. That's on the one hand. Then you have the Nigerian Communications Commission.
NCC.
All right, yes, which is an agency under the Ministry of Innovation, Communication, and Digital Economy, where you have Dr. Boso Tijani as the minister, right? And then you have the telecoms operators, as we call them, the telcos, right? So how are they coordinating to get all of these people's communication? We have seen them on Instagram, we've seen them on TikTok, they are everywhere. In this country, it was in this country that Honorable Justice Salami was in the middle of a controversy. In this same country, all right, under our very nose. And we heard of how that a telecoms company had a request made to it to make available the call logs of the Honorable Justice. So how is it that we're not able to track these calls? This is a country where if I steal your phone, Ramsey, in Abuja, and I go to sell it in Kwara State, the police can trace that phone to a specific spot where it is. It doesn't matter whether it's a village in Kwara State, and they'll get it out. That's how brilliant our police can be. Just because I stole your device, which may not be up to 1 million, for example, then we're talking about lives, hundreds of them, thousands of them, tens of thousands of them, and we're here, we're saying, well, we are helpless, we don't know what to do. They are sponsors, there are powerful people behind them. Are those people more powerful than Nigeria? That's number one. I want to circle back to the police issue, this recruitment of 20,000 policemen. This is an appeal, a very passionate one to the authorities, the police authorities. We saw in this country, under former president, now deceased, Muhammadu Buhari, how there was a fight between the police IG, or if you like, the top hierarchy of the police, and the Police Service Commission over a 10,000 police recruitment that was in place at that time. What was the fight about? It was the Police Service Commission saying, no, we are the ones that have the mandate to recruit. It was the IG saying, no, it is the police leadership that has the mandate to recruit. And that case eventually became a subject of litigation. It was shameful, it was embarrassing, it was childish. And we hope that this directive from the president himself will not also end up on that path, where it now becomes politics between the PSC and the Nigeria Police Force. Because once that happens, it will once again highlight how that we're not serious about the fight against insecurity.
That's true. Then I think this also called for a question. Whoever in Nigeria here have sat down to look at how recruitments are being done in Nigeria. If you and I are struggling for something, see, this is work.
Right.
In this part of the world, people don't struggle for work for nothing. If you see somebody struggling, no, it's me that will do this work.
There's something personal in it.
That's it. That's what it means. So these things should be checked. Previous recruitments should be checked and evaluated, or proper auditing should be done. See, in a place where there is accountability, people take responsibility here without accountability.
Right.
If you have responsibility and you are not being held accountable, you will not do anything reasonable in that office, because it is a free flow. It is auto. So that calls for another question right there. The instruction has been given.
Right.
This is an instruction. What is the breakdown like? What is the action plan like? These are some of the things we should be looking at in this country, because it goes beyond just saying it. Someone can say something. That's why oftentimes you see people blaming the people at the top, blame the president. See, some of these things, it's not the president that is supposed to do it. That's why he has ministers, but then what Nigerians are really complaining about is the supervision.
Right.
The president cannot be everywhere, but he can delegate. That's why he's the president. The instruction has been given. Now, the chief of army staff, now for police, we don't know if it is a police service commission or NPF, Nigeria Police Force, that would do that. Now we don't know because of the previous issues.
Right.
So, but now it should be spelled out, because this is an issue of emergency. So the whole thing should be spelled out. Let's have this recruitment for as many that want to be recruited.
Right.
But this is Nigeria. We heard it was on social media, which is unconfirmed anyway, that people who were even recruited in the past are running away. Some are being declared at war and all of that. And I think there was a disclaimer to that the army is saying whether people like it or not, if you are above 18, you would have to be recruited. You compulsorily needs to be recruited into the Nigerian army and all of that. That's, by the way, it's an unconfirmed story. But then I think Mr. President have said the needful. I went through that speech, and it was beautiful, it was handsome, it was robust. But then the implementation is what matters right now.
Right.
It is one thing to recruit people, and it is another thing to look at the system. Before you recruit people into a particular system, you need to study how that system is running. There might be some modes internally that is obstructing the proper functioning of some systems. So all of this, see, if we need to deal with this issue, it has to be holistic. All right. The people on ground, how is their welfare like? How is their integrity like? How is their attitude to work like? You know, there are some things you need to check. We can have 1 million police officers, and they are not meeting the target. They are not doing what they need to do because of probably the system. But thank God for the kind of police officers that we have, very combatant, very good, and of course the authorities are doing everything possible to make sure these people do their job the way it is. We believe in the Nigerian police force and the military. So all we are saying is insecurity should become a thing of the past. So declaring state of emergency on insecurity in Nigeria is a yes for me.
Yeah, great. All right. We're taking a quick break now, everyone. The rest of the program returns shortly. Do stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
The newspapers bustling with so much of, well, let's just say headlines this morning, of course, with many stories to look at for you. We'll be looking at all of those, but before that, let's bring you a bit of motivation, and behind it, we'll bring you newspaper headlines.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Every wealthy man you see today, they started thinking about it, because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What are you thinking about? How are you seeing yourself right now? What is on your mind? What have you conceived in your heart so far? But I want you to know that everyone on earth is clamoring for success. I've never seen a man who is ever satisfied with what they have. That's why you see people acquiring wealth. They have wealth, but they keep acquiring wealth. No one is ever satisfied to say, well, what I have is enough. I've not seen, probably you may have seen. Let me tell you that wealth begins in the mind. This is Wealth and Success Tips. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and of course, I'd like you to know that wealth isn't just money. Some people, when you talk about wealth, the first thing that comes to their mind is money, but it is the mentality, all right? Not just the money, it is the mentality. What can you convert to money? Your mentality. Some people have already settled it in their mind that they can never be rich. They will never be wealthy. Some people have already conditioned their mind that they will never amount to anything. Now, show me a man who thinks abundance, and I will also show you a man who attracts it. What did I say? I want to take that again. Show me a man who thinks abundance, and I will show you a man, all right, who attracts abundance. If you think abundance, you attract abundance. And that's the reason I tell people everywhere I go, whatever you do, you need to think positive. Show me a person trapped by fear, and I will show you someone that wealth avoids. Do you know that wealth can avoid people? There are a lot of people pursuing money today that money is busy running away from them, because in their mind, they just want to be like that man. They want to be like that woman. They want to have a luxurious life. But what are the necessary things that you need to do? You see, poverty doesn't begin in the pocket. It's not in your pocket. Poverty does not begin in the pocket. It begins in the mind. The real difference between the wealthy and the struggling isn't opportunity. Some will tell you, I don't have the opportunity. Well, some people have the opportunity. They were born with golden spoon. Stop complaining. That is not what the problem is. It is the outlook, your mentality, your thinking. The wealthy see solution where others see struggles. There was in one episode where I was talking about the fact that opportunity come dressed like work. If you avoid work in that instance, you have avoided that opportunity and it passes you by. Don't you ever say, I can't afford it. All right? Some will tell you, how can I afford it? Some people turn obstacle into openings and ideas into income. So train your mind to think upward. That's the real thing that you need to do. Speak positively. Surround yourself with people who stretch your thinking, not people who drain your thinking. How would you ever be in the company of vultures and you want to become an eagle? You want to be like an eagle, but you are in the company of vultures. That is a wrong identity. That is a wrong identity. Not those who shrink your vision. Avoid them. Some people will even tell you why. Oh, you too, you are thinking of being a wealthy person, a successful person. They will even laugh at you. But then you need to avoid people like that. And that takes me to mentorship. How would you ever go after someone to mentor you and that person is going a different direction? The person's vision is not aligning with your vision and you are calling that person your mentor. That person will end up being your tormentor, not your mentor. So what do you have to do? You need to follow people who are going the same direction with you. Money follows mindset. In case you don't know, let me tell you. For as many that want to have money, money follow mindset. What's your mindset? What are you thinking about money? Some people will tell you money is the root of all evil. No. Don't misquote the holy book. The love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself. The love of money is the root of all evils, of evil, not money itself. So if your mind is rich in purpose, your life will be rich in results. So number one thing that you need to think, your mentality needs to tell you, is that your mind needs to be rich in purpose. Are you purposeful? Do you have a dream? Do you have a vision? Do you have something you want to become in the next 5-10 years? Have you started working towards it from now? Then be rest assured that your life will be rich in result because you have a rich purpose. Every rich purpose and vision give birth to a rich result in time to come. You were not created to merely survive. A lot of people have survivor mentality. I am contented with where I am, or at least I can afford 2 square meals. Who told you that? The people who are affording 3 square meals and even eating delicious balanced diet in between meals, they are not more than you. But don't create the mentality of merely surviving. The survivor mentality is not meant for you because you are designed to multiply. You are designed to dominate. You are designed to subdue. Don't wait for wealth to find you. Find wealth. Locate it. Become the kind of person that wealth is drawn to. Because true riches, as a matter of fact, don't start in your hands. They start in your head. It doesn't start in your hand, but in your head. Do you get what I said? The true riches doesn't start in your hand. It starts in the head. There are people that when they were giving birth to, they already made up their mind right from when they were growing. If you doubt what I'm saying, ask the creative people, the innovators, people who innovate things for others to use. Some people are just sitting down. They are not thinking of what they will innovate for others, what their creativity will give birth to for others to use. They are sitting down, busy waiting for other people's creativity and innovation to make use of it. No, your riches starts from your head first before it enters your hand. So your mentality matters so much. How would you on earth be on the journey of destiny and you don't know where you are heading? You are just following everybody. Let me speak to people who are jack of all trade and they think they can be master of all. No. I was speaking to someone earlier today, and we're talking about the fact that you can major in a particular thing, all right, specialize in one thing, but have idea of other things. Have area of specialty. Take, for instance, you're applying for a remote job, for instance, for those of you who have applied for remote jobs, or maybe something to put money on your table, maybe on the internet or with a company, or maybe an entrepreneur. The first thing they will ask you is your experience. What can you do? What can you offer? So as it is right now, you need to be creative mentally before you can be creative physically. I end by saying what you need to do is to know that true riches don't start from your hand, but it starts from your head. If your head is empty, your hand will be bound to be empty also. It's not all about what is in your hand, but what is in your head. Thank you very much. I want to wish you all the best. You are a success in motion. Don't stop until you succeed. Bye-bye for now.
All right, let's begin with the Punch newspaper quickly for you. First off, above the nameplate, it says Mamu spends ransom share on cars, luxury trips. That according to the Department of State Service, the DSS. I just sent the nameplate. It says Tinubu sends 3 ambassadorial nominees to Senate. You will find those details on page 7. What's more, abduction crisis. Tinubu declares emergency as National Assembly rejects bandits negotiations. The writer tells us Senate reps halt talks with bandits. Criticisms mounts over rising insecurity. Massive military recruitment begins. Quite a number of actions going on side by side at this point in time in our history. ECOWAS, Africa Union, condemn military takeover in Guinea-Bissau. As always, insecurity. Tinubu demands herders surrender guns. That's on page 14. Would like to know the modalities around this. Is it going to take the same model as what we had seen in the case of Niger Delta agitators, which again was a different situation altogether? But let's see how this pans out. It's part of a total package of measures now being advanced by the federal government under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. Missing items spark face-off between customer Abuja Mall. Alleged $14.8 million fraud. Silva asks AFCC for appearance date. The dynamics are shifting real quick in this case, but those details are on page 18 for you. So read up all the details from the Punch newspaper today as Ramsey takes us through the first daily now.
All right, let's quickly look at the first daily and see what stories we have there. On the first daily, this one says insecurity, that's the kicker. Allow responsible citizens own guns. Senate urges federal government. Right? What is the model for knowing responsible citizens? Maybe from their record, as a matter of fact, as Nigerians.
There's some sort of stringent background checks and all of that.
Yes. All right. This one is a big story on the Frost Daily, and it says, country on brink. Tinubu declares security emergency. Two riders to that story, and the first rider says orders recruitment of 20,000 police officers to battle insecurity. Backs state police, urges National Assembly to amend laws. Military coup rocks Guinea-Bissau, President Embalo detained. The Senate pushes death penalty for kidnapping. I think this is good. Senate pushes death penalty
For kidnapping.
These people have taken a lot of life, so I don't think he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. Well, let's see how that is going to go. Boko Haram members included in army police recruitment list. Ex-deputy speaker is the one saying that there are police officers and army officers today who are Boko Haram members. All right, I think these are some of the intelligent informations that we talked about earlier.
Right.
This needs to be looked into. Let's know if they are there, because the issue of giving information out, leakage of information, intelligent information is becoming so much. So let's see what the authorities will do about that. And it's not just an ordinary Nigerian that is saying this.
Right.
This is coming from an ex-deputy speaker. More headlines from the Frost Daily. AFDP approves of $500 million loan for Nigeria's economy energy reform. Abiodun declares state police non-negotiable as southern governors meet on insecurity. NANS threaten nationwide action over repeated school attacks. Bandits attack Kano communities, abduct 19 villagers. Those are the headlines from the First Daily.
All right. Hopefully you take the time to look at the details for yourself as we move on to the Guardian newspaper. Now we begin with the Star headline. Tinubu declares emergency on insecurity, backs governors on state police. We're making some progress on this front. Those details are on page 6. Lawmakers declare security collapse, seek death penalty for kidnappers. Ramsey brought you that headline as well from the First Daily a while ago. ADC, negotiating with terrorists, defies sustainable fight against insurgency. DMO, that's Debt Management Office, raises 1.03 trillion naira from T-bills as market shifts to short tenor instruments. Tinubu nominates OK Are, the Latu, as non-career ambassadors to US, UK, France. FG secures fresh $500 million loan from African Development Bank. And lastly, Dangote denies exporting of spec diesel as marketers cite quality concerns. That's not much we can bring to you from The Guardian this morning. We urge you to read up those details for context. Ramsey will now walk us through the New Telegraph newspaper.
On the New Telegraph newspaper this morning, we have a quite number of headlines. Above the nameplate, capital budget, federal government begins sub-2 funds disbursement. Sub-2 fund disbursement, right. You can get the details right there. One of the riders that they have says prioritizes lawmakers' 6.93 trillion naira constituency project. More headlines coming from the New Telegraph this morning. The big story says Tinubu declares security emergency. others more recruitment into armed forces. We have some riders to that story, total of 50,000 policemen to be enlisted. Other forest guards deployment by DSS. And of course, a couple of other headlines from the New Telegraph. This one says Senate probes withdrawal of soldiers from KB school before kidnap incident. We've talked about that severally. A St. Mary's school attack. 2 parents die of heart attack. That's what we're talking about. 2 parents die of heart attack because of the kidnap. You just hear that the child has been kidnapped, and before you know, heart attack, and they are gone. You see, these are some of the implications
Quite
of
pathetic.
of this whole situation. Well, this is bad. And those are the headlines from the New Telegraph this morning.
All right, thank you, Ramsey. And up next is the Nation newspaper. Let's do the star headline first. Emergency on security. Tinubu okay's state police. National Assembly to amend law. Military police to recruit more men. Southern governors outline security plan for zone. Story on page 2. Then, as we move it higher up the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning, they makes Dare Babarinsa, Najim Jimo, Owela Kemfa honorary fellows. Senate passes a resolution for citizens to own firearms. Again, that's quite some tall order for us as a country, but as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. We just need to find some sort of guardrails around it. But you can read up those details for Senate passes resolution for citizens to own firearms on page 3. What's more, don't pull Kebbi girls out of school. PPUs routine or PPUs reunite with families. That has a picture of the governor of the state, Governor Nasrio, right there with it. Dangote Group signs fertilizer expansion deals, $2.2 million undeclared cash seized at airports in 6 months. That's quite a lot of money not to have been declared. Ex-DSS DG, ex-NIA boss, envoy, tipped as ambassadors. You have the pictures of the 3 gentlemen right there, right? Are okay, and Delatu. Okay, the route to Papiri, where pupils were adopted, on page 4. Federal government's 50 billion naira seed fund for agriculture. That's on page 5 for businessmen, especially for those within the agriculture ecosystem. You can read up those details on page 5 and find out how you can benefit from it as well. All right, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune next.
All right, Nigeria Tribune is the next paper, and of course, let's begin from above the nameplate where it says, at last, Tinubu begins appointment of ambassadors. All right, one writer to that story nominates Kayode Are, Aminu Dalatu, Ayodele Oke to Senate for confirmation. A circular road marking the CAPS project at 150 million in developed areas. Right. Okpebolo holds security meeting, beefs up surveillance along highways, communities in Edo. Okpebolo seems to be doing so much. Now to the big story, which says that Tinubu declares nationwide security emergency. And we have some riders to that story. A couple of riders, others armed forces, pleased to recruit more personnel. It calls on NAS to review laws that will allow states requiring state police to establish them. Wants headers to end open grazing, surrender illegal weapons. Police to use NYSC camps as training depots. Federal government to support state governors who set up security outfits. DSS to deploy forest guards to flush out terrorists. Mosque churches in vulnerable areas should seek security protection when they gather. I think this is a summary of everything that was said. The Southern governors, traditional rulers meet, discuss security region. All right. You can see them in their attires right there on almost all the pages of the paper. And they have approved Zonal Security Fund,
Right.
a past vote of confidence in Tinubu that is coming from the Southern governors. The Senate in intense debate over rising insecurity. Some writers to that story moves to clarify kidnapping as terrorism, proposes death penalty for kidnappers, demands probe sanctions against commander who withdrew troops before KB schoolgirls kidnap. All right, Cocoa Rebirth, Oyo government approves 3.03 billion naira rejuvenation project. I think going back to Cocoa, I think it's a good one. All right, those are the headlines from the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, Ramsey, let's begin to tie it down. So look at our penultimate paper this morning before the last one. That's the Vanguard newspaper. We move up the front, the top, very top of it. It says here, Nigeria's money supply grows to 119 trillion naira. 2 killed as vigilante foils bandit attack on Kogi school. Kaduna train attack, publisher Mamu received 50 million naira from terrorists. That's according to the Department of State Service. Insecurity, Tinubu declares emergency. Writers say, tells National Assembly to review laws to allow state police, DSIs to deploy forest guards to flush out bandits. Approves recruitment of additional 20,000 policemen. Asks herder associations to end open grazing, surrender illegal weapons. Senate review firearms law to allow responsible citizens carry guns. All of these you can read up on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper today. $14.8 million alleged fraud. Silver Rights EFCC seeks date for appearance. Coup. Jonathan trapped in Guinea-Bissau. That's former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, alongside prominent African leaders, including those within the ranks of the African Union as well as the ECOWAS there in Bissau. Let's tell Tinubu the truth on insecurity. Senator Dixon is the one saying that. Let's tell Tinubu the truth on insecurity. As on page 6. It will appear the truth is beginning to unfold before the president. Obviously, something must have informed this new line of action. Lagos will remain peaceful, Sanwo-Olu assures after Security Council meeting. Southern governors, monarchs restate call for state police. Incidentally, the president is on the same page with them. Well, those are your headlines from the Vanguard newspaper. The last one is This Day newspaper.
All right, let's quickly flip through this Day newspaper where it says ex-President Jonathan orders trapped in Guinea-Bissau as military announces coup. Please, he should be released. He should be allowed to return back. It means so much to Nigeria and the world. African leaders were on the election observer mission. ECOWAS says a poll was peaceful, decries arrest of electoral officials. Now to the big story. Insecurity. 17 southern governors meet, agree to create zonal security funds. Tinubu declares national security emergency, talks tough on criminals. A couple of writers to that story. Others, army pleased to recruit more men, just as it is on other papers. That's the same that we have here as regards the instruction from the president. The Southern Governors Forum and Southern Nigerian traditional rulers conclude meeting. As a matter of fact, those are the headline. One still here, audited financial report shows NNPC pledged over 9 trillion naira in crude-backed deals. Those are the headlines from this day newspaper.
It depends which they can take one, which will be the last one, and that would be, let's see what that is now. That's the Daily Trust newspaper for you, right? Let's look at the Daily Trust quickly. Top left corner says President Mbalo arrested as military stages coup in Guinea-Bissau. Incidentally, this is the 4th time since that country gained independence in 1973. With several other ones that didn't succeed, but 4 coups have succeeded in that country in the last 5 decades. Quite interesting, isn't it? Our police withdraw from VIPs, our lives in danger, lawmakers. It's too early to cry now. I mean, we have over 200 million Nigerians, so why will an infinitesimal number of citizens be completely
I'm laughing
ready?
because James Ezema said it here on the desk that they will soon start lamenting, and that is not the first time this withdrawal
So it's a case of what touches one touches all.
Yes.
It's interesting. President declares emergency on insecurity, orders massive recruitment into police army. And then the Star headline says, released, rescued, or ransomed. Well, you have to read that to find out the interesting details. You can call it R3. Released, rescued, or ransomed. Which of them is it? But the families of these promising young girls are happy that they can reunite with their children. So for them, the rest is history. As a country, we must continue to double down on the causes of insecurity in our dear country.
Sure.
Tinubu appoints former security chiefs, diplomats as ambassadors. Child's corpse exhumed, stolen in Yobe. That's quite gory. Freed Kebbi school girl speaks on 8 days with bandits. Traumatic experience, no doubt. Police hunt for suspects after discovery of ammunition in Zaria. That's a key town in Kaduna State, where you have one of the country's very prestigious universities, Ahmadu Bello University. Well, quite embarrassing stories, but we're happy that government appears to be moving now in terms of finding lasting solutions to all of these problems. Well, taking a quick break, everyone, as always, we'll remind you that Global Television, as a media outlet, or the team here on Global Morning, does not in any way contribute to these headlines or shape the details. All we do is just present you the headlines as published by their respective publishers. All right, after this break, we'll put our first discussion on the road for you. Do stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Very good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk. Tonight on the program,
As always, it's a pleasure to have you join us here on Global Morning. I am Uyi
You know how we do it on Teacher Post Extra, bringing you all the...
On the desk this evening, we have very topical issues to discuss. And of course...
Welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament.
Peaceful and joyful home doesn't happen by chance. It is built on...
Women can rise beyond traditional boundaries to claim their rightful place as...
Numerous committee, about more than 12 committees.
Festival is a program that comes to you once in a week at about this time where we look into issues and discuss them. It gives you the opportunity to...
Rural leaders in United
Welcome
Nigeria.
to Entertainment Circle. And trust me, today you're about to get entertained.
Hello everyone and welcome to the program Talk Sports here on Global Television.
Top Zone is that platform where we bring young and talented artists.
Stay tuned, stay inspired, stay with Global Television on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276.
It is a delight to have you right there. And now we want to go into that first conversation on Global Morning today. And of course, a lot of people are drifting from the main thing, which is the hunger that Nigerians have been facing for a while. Some persons are of the school of thought that this hunger has reduced drastically because of the falling price of food items, especially staple foods. But then, some persons are of the opinion that the security situation has made money not even, as in money, whatever money you have right now will not be enough to even help you move your product from one place to the other, as it has to do with transportation, irrespective of the price of the commodity. Some persons are blaming the authorities for the prices of commodities, especially food items in the market. Today, we have an expert who is a security expert, a security professional, and of course, he is also a political and public affairs analyst in the person of Professor Ibrahim Abubakar. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning, Prof.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Let's get to look at a very strategic topic this morning, because this is a people-centered topic, and we want to look at it because of what is happening in the society. We're looking at cost of living and, of course, a poor pricing mechanism which has poses economic challenge. Do you notice anything as it has to do with poor pricing and the cost of living in Nigeria right now? What do you think about the situation? We all cried when subsidy was removed. There was hunger everywhere. In fact, emergency was declared as it has to do with food security in this country. But where are we at this point in time?
Well, my observation is that whatever that has gone up don't come down in Nigeria. If you watch last year's scenario, the dollar went as far as 2,000 to $1, or 2,000 plus to $1. Today, the dollar has fallen to 1,400 and something, within the range of 1,400 to 1,470. But you still find out that the prices are still going higher than expected. And let's leave that apart. Let's come to the consumables. The consumable prices are still going higher. Sometime before now, the price of flour in the market was about 90 to 105 naira per bag of flour. The ball of butter, for example, was going to about 25 to 30,000 naira. Then you come to talk of other ingredients that make up us to bake bread, or which is just the Nigeria common food. The bread that we bought 3,000 still remain 3,000 up to date, when even the price of flour now is about 35,000 to 40,000. So these are the things the challenges we face when the bowl of butter has come to about 10,000 to 15,000, from the 25 to 30,000. Yet the price of bread remain about 3,000 naira, or let me say 2,000 to 3,000 naira. So where are we going to? Who do we blame on this? Who are the regulatory bodies? Then let's come to rice. Rice went as far as 90 to 120, 125,000 a bag. Now rice is between 40 to 50,000. Yet any place you visit for a a plate of food is still, a plate of rice is still going to between 5,000 to 10,000. So we are in a society where everybody take advantage of the other. We are not thinking of this. The moment there is one index of price fluctuation, everybody shout. When the price comes down, everybody goes quiet. Mostly the middle class, who are the retail marketers, they shout over the roof on the price increase. But they don't shout any longer. You can't hear them speak now that the prices has crashed. You go to rent a house, agents are telling you, agency allega 20%, 25%, even in some circumstances, 30%. Then you wonder how the owner of the house who is collecting so amount, you who this property does not belong to, you are just, and what classify an agent? These are not qualified licensed bodies exploiting the ordinary people because you need a house to stay. And the prices of the house are very high because there is no regulation. You build a house of 5 million naira and you are collecting a rent of 10 million a year. I think there is no enterprise in the world that is better than the enterprise of Nigeria. I wish I can join the enterprise of Nigeria.
but let's get to the issue of food pricing now, and of course the cost of living. You asked the question, in this situation now, what do you think should be done?
The problem we have here is we have not been able to establish what we call commodity exchange program or exchange commission or exchange whatever we can give them, or exchange agency. If we have commodity exchange agency established in Nigeria, I think that will reduce all the intakes and they will be able to regulate the food price year in, year out. Because with that, we can have bombard harvest. And we can also bring out the best of us. So what I buy 1 naira today will remain 1 naira tomorrow till from January to December.
So what's the place of quality now? Because most of this food, like you talked about, a plate of food going for 5,000, going for 10,000, depending on the location and the quality of the food. Don't you think we can also have it, there are places that we're having it at a cheaper rate?
No, I think the situation is not quality or quantity. The situation is who is selling and who is marketing and who is demarketing. We have people who have studied dietary and hygiene. What is their job? Because those are the people that are supposed to detect this is the quality of the food you are taking.
It's not based on the taste, because some people tell you, I ate here and it was, the food was so tasty. And
no,
they are satisfied with it.
We are not having a regulation. Nobody is regulating and nobody is implementing. So you could say the food is very tasty and it's a junk. It's not good for the human consumption.
But that also affects the price.
It's not affecting pricing. Pricing is not regulated in Nigeria. So you can go anywhere and eat. The most important thing is you are satisfied.
That's a Nigerian syndrome. No one cares whether it is a balanced diet or not.
No.
All right,
cares.
but then what do you think should be the role of the government in all of this? Because most of these things, people will say Tinubu's government, but this is individuals.
Well,
but everything people cry to the government, and they accuse the government and call names and all of that. But these are Nigerians doing this to themselves.
When they say government, who is government? We are the government. The way you regulate yourself, the way you put yourself, the way you standardize yourself, that is where you are taking. But what we are saying is, these middle class people, what are they doing to the society? When the price is high, you put it at the peak. Now that the price has crashed, what are you telling us? Why is the price still remaining the same thing? If you ask them now, they will say it was old stock, and they have not restocked, so they cannot talk of pricing crashing down. But when you were increasing the price, we did not ask whether you were having old stock that you bought cheaper than the price you have increased to. So, and that is because we also don't have people who are enforcer. Since there is no regulation, when you don't regulate, you can't enforce. So the policy framework is what we have to blame on. Who are in charge of these policies? And who are supposed to implement? And who are supposed to enforce?
So in your own opinion, whose assignment is that as far as Nigeria is concerned?
We have too many regulatory authorities in Nigeria, so I don't know who is regulating who, because we have a body that is in charge of food, drugs, administration and control. So I don't know whether it falls into them. But to me, it still falls into their privy.
Okay, to regulate the price of food items in the market?
Yes, because it is NAFDAC. So what quality of food am I eating?
What about Standard Organization of Nigeria?
The Standard Organization of Nigeria, we have already known that it's a toothless bulldog, so we are not even talking of the Standard Organization of Nigeria.
So, in other words, the people faulting the federal government for all of this, it's not their fault, but individuals now. Because the reason why I'm asking all these questions is because all these things, all these challenges boil down to the average Nigerians who are helpless. But in all of this, we need to try and profile a solution so that we don't have a continuous challenge of pricing in Nigeria. This thing has lingered for a very long time. Like you said, a lot of people already believe even the fare, the transportation people pay, all right? You know, when the price goes up, it never comes down. But we have NURT, but all they are interested in is what gets into their pocket. The average Nigerian is standard. What would you tell Nigerians right now?
The truth is that when you mention Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers, you mention Road Transport Employees Association of Nigeria, you find out that they are not regulators. They are just a union. And these unions, we continue to have unions that are strangulating us without the regulatory body, which is Ministry of Labor and Employment, coming out to tell the union, no, this is not what we registered you for. You can see how many touts we have in Beja and other places in Nigeria, all in the name of union. That is not the way to go. Meaning that the ministry is not doing their job. Because I have not seen the ministry, because the ministry executives are benefiting, they have not reprimanded any of these unions any day. Even the Nigerian Labour Congress has not reprimanded any union any day.
But do they have the prerogative, the authority to do that?
Yes, you registered them. So you have every right to reprimand them. But
okay, they are not registered under corporate affairs.
No,
they are registered under...
Before you go to corporate affairs, you must have submit your manifestos, your blueprint and everything to the Ministry of Labor. And Labor will have registered you before you are registered in... If you are not registered by Labor, by Ministry of Labor, and recognized by the Nigerian Labour Congress, you cannot be registered in Corporate Affairs Commission. It's just like when you want to own a bank, CBN will have recognized you before you go to Corporate Affairs Commission to register the bank. You can't just walk into Corporate Affairs Commission today and say, I want to own a bank, and the name of the bank is this. So register me. It is a directive from CBN, so also Labor. So you cannot register any union when you have not been registered by Nigerian Labour Congress.
All right, let's look at this. What we're looking at actually is the cost of living of Nigerians. Do you think the cost of living has improved compared to how it was before now?
I have told you that the food prices has crashed.
But has that improved the cost of living?
No, that is my concern. They are still selling at the normal rate to you as retailer. The middle class are still selling at that rate and making people feel that the prices are still the same. I just make analysis with rice and flour now. It's still the same. And I'm not talking of importation now. I'm talking of we as Nigerians. If you go to the market, the tuber of yam that goes for 3,000, 2,005 before it, you can get 5 of that or 10 of that for that same price. But yet, it's still the same.
In which market can you get from that? That is ridiculous.
No, just
or you need to travel, meaning you need to pay for transportation, because these people will also tell you, well, I bought a bag of rice, okay, for maybe 30,000, 40, 50, 70,000 or 60,000. But I had to transport it from Gombe, where there is security situation probably, or from Benue, all right, from Zakibian, where there is security situation. I transported my yams. And, you know, don't you think that could also add to the price, to the retail price?
No, I don't base my analysis from when I'm discussing here in Abuja. I'll start discussing about what happens in Gombe.
No, but they are not produced here.
The price here of a bag of rice in Abuja is between 40 to 50,000 naira. I'm not talking of Gombe.
No, what I'm saying is,
the same rice some time ago was between 90 and 120,000. That is where I'm basing my analysis from. I'm not going to Gombe, I'm not going to anywhere else. So whosoever has brought it from anywhere that person has brought it from must have bought it lower than that price. The cost of transportation has been put into it. But here in Abuja, is a bag of rice now is between 45 to 50,000. But
which is not reflecting in the plate of rice.
It is not reflecting at all.
But
so that is my concern now.
There are some other things. I'm not disputing the fact that these people sometimes they tend to want to make too much gain at once. But don't you think it's also necessary for us to put into consideration the condiments used for the preparation of this rice that we're talking about? I was somewhere yesterday, you know, and people came to buy food, and they were complaining, all right, how exorbitant the price is. No, the woman was even complaining, the person selling, that see, the price of beans is cheap, the price of rice, if you want to get it, the bags the prices have reduced. But look at this oil, just this bottle of oil is how many thousand? Look at this, and that's the reason she was trying to justify the reason why she was selling the price she was selling. What do you think about that?
Whatever reason she has, I think the price of onions has dropped. The price of oil has dropped. The price, all those prices has dropped.
Okay, for oil, for
Yes.
groundnut oil and the palm oil,
all prices has dropped. So
where did you do your market
She has no reason. A whole jerrycan of oil that was going for 30-something thousand before is about 25,000 now. So it's not justifiable. The palm oil, for example.
You know, these prices you're calling, some persons are listening right now, they say, which market?
Well,
so where did you do your market survey?
I am a village man, so I go to the market. I was not brought up with luxury.
What we're saying is, which of the markets did you do your market survey that you have these prices? Because somebody it may be a useful information somewhere.
It is a common thing that you can walk into Gariki market, you can walk into Use market. The problem we have here is nobody wants to take it as a research template or a strategic template to do some of these models or to walk through these models. A lot of people believe it's a prestige for them to sit down at home and whatever is brought to them is taken. I don't do some things because I have to patronize them or I have to play a gimmick to it, but I just want to know what the average Nigerian is going through. Because I can afford to go to a restaurant and eat every day and go and sleep in my house. So, but then you must know what the average person is going through.
That's a true Nigerian. That's a patriotic Nigerian.
So that is the issue. Most people sit down at home and feel they cannot walk into the market. They cannot see what the average person is going through. They will not want to know the prices of things. I do what we call window shopping.
Window shopping. All right, let's look at all of this now. You know, oftentimes, what the people will say is, this Tinubu administration. But nobody is looking at the retailer or the wholesaler who is unduly doing this thing. So what happens to our conscience?
Well,
as Nigerians who are supposed to be patriotic and human enough.
We just say this Tinubu administration. You know the reason. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. So people don't know when they say the uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. He wears the crown, and if you have read, I'm not talking of, let us not go religion, but even if you have read the Bible and you have read the Quran, he is held accountable for whatever we commit, because he's the leader.
But he cannot be everywhere, you know. He cannot be everywhere.
That is why
he cannot go and speak to the retailers.
That is why he has to be very careful with.
So why are retailers
But that is why he has to be very careful with his appointees.
But then, the truth be told, where there is good conscience, don't you, in a climate where things are working, and people have conscience, do we even need to be talking about this? So why are Nigerians like this?
There is a missing link. If for the past 25 years or above, we have been able to establish commodity exchange program in Nigeria, we may not have been discussing this. But there is no place where we cannot start from. Because with the commodity exchange program, what you buy as 10 naira in Sokoto is the same thing you are going to buy 10 naira in Maiduguri. It's the same thing you are going to buy 10 naira in Calabar. It's the same thing you are going to buy 10 naira in Lagos. It's the same thing you are going to buy 10 naira in Abuja. So by so doing, nobody will come to you and tell you there is a price increase by 1 cent. And if there is an increase, it will come from the commodity exchange body to say we are increasing because of A, B, C, D. So we give an advantage to these people when we are supposed to say no, this cannot take place. But there will be no need for me, if not for these days before, if I'm traveling, I feel that I'm coming from Kano, I don't need to buy anything along the road because it's the same thing
in Abuja.
In Abuja. It was after some time I realized that it is not same thing. So you must buy as far as you are going through the road.
Is insecurity linked to all of this in any way?
When people talk of insecurity, I used to ask one question, and nobody has answered me that question. So I am sometimes saying that insecurity, yes. But up to today, we have not seen anywhere with all the rampaging of the bandits, the kidnappers, they have not kidnapped any local government chairman, to my knowledge. They have not kidnapped any state House of Assembly member, not even a state commissioner.
Maybe because they are protected by security operatives.
Not even a commissioner, state commissioner, not even a minister, not one member of the National Assembly, not to talk of one deputy governor, president, and the vice president. So we should keep if you say they are protected, the generals that were killed, that has been kidnapped, adopted, and whatsoever, were also protected.
So what are you trying to say?
No,
how does that affect our food price?
So, no, you are the one that brought that maybe because of the insecurity.
Because people are not going to farm.
If we are going to...
Would it have been a different ball game if people were going to farm the way they used to?
Here in this studio, I've spoken about us talking about food security when we don't talk of the farmer security. We have spoken about it. So when you are talking of food security, you also have to talk about the farmer security. We have not attended to those issues. Just if you go to the insecurity, we also now I also asked one question. Since the kidnapping thing of students starts, it is always female students. So why the females?
We should be asking you as a security professional.
Dachi, all of them are all ladies' schools. Ladies' children. They are all females. But this is the issue. Whether you rescue some or you don't rescue some, the truth is that the human parts or the human organ harvesting is still a question that the security agencies has not addressed. Then the hormonous fluid from the female is an issue again that they have not addressed. So if we go deeper security, we will also be bringing in things that has actually brought about this insecurity and made it a very worldwide trade in Nigeria. So,
all right. We're trying to round up as a matter of fact. Let's know. As a matter of fact, pricing is a serious issue, not just food. In Nigeria as a whole, the price of commodities, food item, clothing, everything. You just talked about housing, rentage just now. This is a worrisome situation that we found ourselves right now. Coming down, narrowing it down to cost, to price it now. How do you think this has posed economic challenge?
It has posed an economic challenge to all the average Nigerians. Average Nigerians. they have faced a lot of challenges because of these issues. So imagine you come to rent a house only for somebody to tell you it's an agent, and he's telling you the house is of just 1 bedroom is about 4 million naira. You look, how much is your earning?
1 bedroom?
Yes. How much is your earning for 4 million naira? You are going to furnish this 1 bedroom, and somebody is coming to tell you that out of that 4 million naira, you are even paying 25%, which makes it another additional 1 million. They will start telling you of service charge, caution fee, and all those things. So how do you meet up? So there are so many games played around that makes Nigerians to go into illegalities.
Okay, that's one of the implications.
Yes. I have to have a roof over my head. I have to dress to match. I have to also survive. And the food prices are going up. They are not ready to come down. So there are so many things militating against the average Nigerian. And nobody seems to care. The people who call themselves agents, they have no certification. So who are you paying to? Somebody who is not satisfied to be an agent? And what makes him an agent? What qualifies him? What are the established rules that guided that you are a facilitator? So these people go home without paying any tax. They earn what they are not qualified for, what they cannot defend.
But is the government aware of this set of people?
Are the government not renting houses?
I thought they live in quarters, or probably because they have the money. They have the money, they don't care, so they just dish it out to the agents, or how is it like?
No. In some cases, even those who are qualified to have this, to live in quarters, also even put themselves in such trade holes, building through the corners to make money from such process.
All right, let's look at one very particular issue now, which is almost going to be our last discussion somehow as we try to wind up. Now, there is a situation where this is November, of course, and in a couple of days, we would get to December. What are you envisaging? Because people are saying there is no money in circulation to even buy the food items and even some of the things that they need as basic needs. What do you think is responsible for that? More so that we're getting to the end of the year and December is coming. And you know how December is celebrated in Nigeria.
Well, the celebration, I don't know what they are celebrating.
Christmas, of course.
Christmas is not, to me, is not a celebration. We regard that as Jesus Christ's birthday. So, what does Jesus Christ required?
No, you know, some persons.
No, I'm just coming.
So no, if you are, I didn't even talk of Christmas. I'm talking about the end of the year. A lot of people,
if you are this,
because a lot of religions celebrate it because they feel it's end of the year. Oh Lord, I thank you. You need to see how people celebrate when they are crossing over to the next year. It's not even all about Christmas now, but I'm talking about how people celebrate. Oh, I have seen this is the last month of the year. We're rounding up. You see people giving gifts and all of that.
Yes, there we have the Boxing Day, which is the day you give chocolate, flowers, and any other thing to keep the the whole thing going. But the truth remains that even at that, you have to look at your expenses. The only thing we don't do here is we don't budget, we don't know how to manage money and manage finances. So I have overheard somebody saying that this Christmas he can't afford not to spend less than 20 million naira. For what? Remember that January is coming. You have school fees to pay, you have bills to pay, you have other things to pay. Some people, their rent expires in January and they have to renew and the rest. So when that financial management thing is not in you, you start spending what you're not supposed to spend. A lot of people I see, mostly in Abuja, they are going home to the village. They spend and to tell people that they are from Abuja as if they pick money from the floors in the street of Abuja. And at the end of the day, you are coming back even asking for people for rebate to pay your fare back to Abuja. That is not the standard of living we are supposed to be. So you find out that we don't have discipline in most areas, and we are in those areas undisciplined.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Prof. Well, our time is up. We can't continue with the conversation, but we pray, and the wish is that the authorities who are supposed to regulate all of this are able to do the needful, because it's all about the average Nigerian, because some people don't even care. They don't even know whether there is high cost of living or anything. But all the same, thank you very much for joining us on Global Morning today.
Thank you so much, and thank you, viewers.
All right, this is the size of the conversation this morning. We will go on a quick break, and Global Morning continues afterwards. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Very good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk. Tonight on the program,
as always, it's a pleasure to have you join us here on Global Morning. I am Uyi Alpo.
You know how we do it on Social Post Extra, bringing you all the...
On the desk this evening, we have very topical issues to discuss, and of course...
Welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament.
Peaceful and joyful home doesn't happen by chance. It is built on... Men can rise beyond traditional boundaries to claim their rightful place as...
Very numerous committee, about more than 12 committees.
Festival is a program that comes to you once in a week at about this time where we look into issues and discuss them. It gives you the opportunity to...
Rural leaders in United
Welcome
Nigeria.
to Entertainment Circle. And trust me, today you're about to get entertained.
Hello everyone and welcome to the program Talk Sports here on Global Television.
Turn Up Zone is that platform where we bring young and talented artists.
Stay tuned, stay inspired, stay with Global Television on DSTV Channel 365, on Star Times Channel 276.
Just when the world, and indeed Africans, have thought that given these elections, the legislative and presidential elections are held in Guinea-Bissau this last weekend running into Sunday, would result in the transition of some kind. Of course, the same President Embalo are coming back for another term. What we have seen now is quite dramatic and drastic altogether, given that as of yesterday, the president himself had confirmed to France 24 that he had been taken into custody by the army. The term he used was that he had been deposed. The army says that it's now in full control of Guinea-Bissau, and for many of the citizens, this is no surprise and it is nothing new, because this is the fourth time that coup has successfully happened in that country since independence in 1973. That's in addition to several other attempts that failed right in the middle. What exactly are the implications of this for not just Guinea-Bissau, but for Africa? Especially for this country, Guinea-Bissau, that many multilateral institutions have referred to as poverty-stricken. And what lessons can be learned? Again, we'll also have to look at the responses now coming out from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, as well as the African Union, AU. To help us have this conversation, I'm joined by Emmanuel Ozomina, he's a public policy consultant. Emmanuel, I'd like to appreciate you for your time this morning on the program.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just when you think that, right, just when you think that the culture of coup in Africa is beginning to wane or fade, the next thing you hear is there's another of such incidents. For a country that was right in the middle of an election, what exactly is happening in Guinea-Bissau?
Well, I think if you ask me, it's wrong to say the culture of coup is fading. It isn't fading, because as we speak now, there are a couple of African countries in the last 5 years that, where military have intervened to remove a democratically elected government. It happened close to us here in Gabon. It happened in Mali. It happened in Burkina Faso, Niger. It happened in Madagascar, and it happened in Guinea. You remember Alpha Conde, who was also toppled. In fact, that was quite dramatic. The man was speaking on. In fact, they put him on television. He was he was speaking for a couple of number of days, and just close to Guinea, because Guinea-Bissau is between Guinea and Senegal. Just a very small country of a little bit over 2,090,000 people. Right. And the size is the size of, for Adamawa State is bigger than it, because it's 36,000, 254
square
kilometers, you know. So it's the size, you could say, size of Adamawa State, or maybe Kogi and the Enugu State put together. But the point is that we also need to understand why this culture of military intervention are quite returning across Africa. The managers of democracy, people who have been elected, have not been good stewards of the people's trust. That's part of the problem. Because if you look at a couple of these countries where we've had this military intervention, for instance, let's take the current case in Guinea-Bissau, where agreed 12 candidates contested in the elections that were done on Monday, on November 26th. But ahead of the election, you know, preparatory to election campaigns, do we have an inclusive participation? Do we have such you could call democracy? Because the core essence of democracy, or what you call liberal democracy, is participation. Free participation, unfettered participation. But what you have is where incumbents, you know, take it on themselves to disqualify candidates they think have a very strong following, like it happened in Guinea-Bissau. President Umaru Embalo perhaps thought, to begin with, he's a retired military officer. Right. He retired as a brigadier general. He left the army as a brigadier general, then came to run for an election in 2019, and here we are. So if you've been following events around democracy in Burkina Faso, he didn't really understand the difference between a regimented lifestyle and a libertarian democratic setting.
That's in Guinea-Bissau.
In Guinea-Bissau, yeah, because the people he considered very strong candidates, the parties he considered very strong candidates, he had to ban them. In fact, his Fernando Diaz, his main opponent, is running as an independent, because the main parties were disqualified from presenting candidates. So I think what you call democratically elected leaders in Africa are yet to come to appreciate the essence, the philosophy, and the core of democracy. And that's part of the reason perhaps military rule is returning in quite a number of these countries.
Quite an interesting thing. But what happens to all of this time, all of the energy, all of the money spent conducting an election that the African Union has now adjudged to be free, fair, and credible?
Yeah, what is African Union? What is election observer? Let me tell you, the truth about election observation, I have been involved in quite a lot of election observation. It's first, you want to find a way of providing stability for the institution. Because most election observers are looking at the big picture of having a stable economy, a stable country, a social cohesion, some sort of a transition from the tension of election to post-election, tension. You want it to be seamless. So most times, even when they notice infractions, they have a way of being very, very diplomatic about it, because you wouldn't want to upset the apple cart, except in places, if it's America, for instance, in Venezuela, they can say, look, this is what happened, because in that case, you could say they have some sort of a declared interest. They are interested parties. But for me, I've never taken African Union, ECOWAS, whatever, serious. Because if you read reports, they are election monitoring report most of the times. They are just institutional statements. They are statements that are bureaucratic. They are statements not rooted in facts. They are statements, even though you don't blame them, because it's an establishment statement. That's what they release most of the times. Because what do you expect them to say? That these elections were not properly done? Because if they said that, that could lead to some sort of reaction. Let's take, for example, a recent election done in Tanzania. You saw the election. Ahead of the election, to begin with, John Magufuli died in 2021 as a result of during that COVID, at the heat of the COVID crisis. Right. Then, Madam Hassan, who succeeded him as president. People were a bit happy that now we have a woman taking leadership. So we had the expectations were high. But between that transition that should have happened about a month ago, it didn't happen. Because what we had in Tanzania was not an election. If you followed it clearly, she ensured that candidates were excluded.
Right.
And the problem about exclusion around elections, the moment you exclude candidates, it's a way of breeding some huge crisis. Because if you allow candidates run and they contest and lose elections, they can be a bit magnanimous. You are magnanimous in victory, and then the other guys are happy, at least I had an opportunity to share my views, to sell my platform. And then, first of all, understand the composition of Tanzania. You have Tanganyika region, you have Zanzibar region. She's from the Zanzibar part of the Tanzania, and they are smaller in size. So her fear about competitiveness, because if election becomes competitive, and you know how these elections are done, usually most of the times people are not listening to ideas, they are listening to identity. You have identity of ethnic origin, identity of religion, identity of perhaps ideological composition. So elections are basically on that spectrum. So, and it has a way of creating feud, because the African elites are yet to come to the point of creating elite consensus and say, look, what should we emphasize? What should we highlight around electoral issues? Whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Burkina Faso, anywhere, just take a study of election campaign processes across Africa. Any African country, whether in Western Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa, or whatever, you could see the key issues are built around identities. In fact, there's a book written, I think in 1976, by a certain Nigerian scholar. The title is Ethnic Politics in Nigeria, by one, the name is Professor Okudiban Nole. That was his PhD dissertation that he turned into a book. And it has become a masterpiece. If you study it, you don't need to go too far to understand Nigeria. Then he also went on to talk about tribal politics in Africa. Part of the problem of democracy, of elections in Africa, are actually rooted in colonialism. The colonialists, for instance, at the Berlin Conference, simply got what they thought was a map of Africa, brought a ruler and ruled. Say, okay, this is Portuguese, this goes to the Spanish, this goes to the French, this goes to the Germans, this goes to the English. That was essentially what they did. They didn't even understand the map or the human beings living in those locations that were trying to divide. Say, for instance, in Nigeria, let's look at a very typical example. There's this Barubu people. They are located in Kainji. They are located in Kayama. They are located in Barutin. On the other side of Niger Republic, somewhere in Niki, Parakou area, you have them there. The same set of people, the same ethnic group, but half ended up in Benin Republic, and the other part ended up in Nigeria. So if you go there, for instance, in 1999, I ran into someone from there, a man from there who represented that constituency at the National Assembly. He told me clearly that when they need medical help, Medicare, they go to Benin Republic because that's the closest that they can have. If you move over between Kebbi, Sokoto, Jigawa, and Katsina, to a certain extent, Yobe, the entire area, they share border with Niger Republic on the other side. You have the same people who share the same aspiration. Then when you move over to the Adamawa area, even though initially they were part of what you call German Cameroon. Germany were the people who colonized Cameroon initially, but lost it after the First World War. They lost it. Yeah, the one was given, in fact, is the League of Nations, then the United Nations that handed it over to French and Britain as a trusteeship, under what they call trusteeship. So you have Marwa, a portion in Cameroon, a portion in Nigeria. You have Adamawa, a portion in Cameroon, a portion in Nigeria. So by the time you do the entire bit, it gives you some sort of an idea. Then down south, what you call NCNC used to be Nigerian citizens of Cameroon, National Convention of Nigerian Citizens and the Cameroons, because you have the Southern Cameroon on the other side. So what do you call the entire Bakassi Peninsula area, or Northwest Cameroon and the Southwest, were all part of Nigeria under the British trusteeship. If you look at the judgment of the International Court of Arbitration in 2006, if you look at the map, you have a Fik community on this side, you have a Com community on this side, you have so it's just the entire area is divided into two. Half is some relatives are here and some other relatives are here. So if you go over to southwest Nigeria, where you have border with Benin Republic, whether it's in Oyo or Ogun, you just walk across. They are farmlands. So what I'm saying essentially is, part of the challenge is historic. Part of the challenge is a creation of the elites, the political elite, who also, because these things give them advantage. But again, if we have come to the age where we say, look, Africa would not practice monarchy, because the difference between monarchy and democracy is that a democratic, under democracy, there's an election. An election is an exercise of free will of the people. But what we have now is leaders are elected and they are not willing to relinquish power or allow the citizens make a choice whether to re-elect them or not.
That again casts a lot of shadow on the electoral process in Africa, which is obviously the reason you find a lot of these these gamut of monitoring entities coming into Nigeria, coming into different African countries in the name of monitoring elections. We saw the report that the EU Observer Monitoring Group, mission also submitted to INEC the other time under the leadership of immediate past chairman, Professor Mahmoud. But let's talk about the possibility of external influence, if you like, the Western influence, as is always the case, as it has to do with Guinea-Bissau now.
Okay, well, external influence would be there, but external influence will succeed where you have a failed elite. What do I mean by that? I recall in 2019, President Mbalo came to Nigeria with his rotuni of traditional rulers and elites to come and thank the former President Muhammadu Buhari for the support he gave to the electoral process in Guinea-Bissau. Nigeria supported Guinea-Bissau, to strengthen the electoral process. And President Mbalo is the first Fula is Fulani, to have become the president of Guinea-Bissau since its founding, or since their independence in 1974. So it became a very huge, achievement for his people, because that's the way, you could find it in literatures. These things I'm saying are available in literatures. You have over 40 ethnic groups in Guinea-Bissau, 2 million people, 40 ethnic groups. So that struggle for who controls power, you have the Balanta people who constitute the majority, followed by Fula and Madinka. But incidentally, the Balanta people feel that they are indigenous to Guinea-Bissau before the other people started coming in, And you also have the minor groups. So that struggle for power is a big, big issue. Like I said, you have identity issues around Africa. So if there's going to be an external influence, the external influence, it leverages on existing realities. It lived realities, historical realities, unresolved aggression, and existing tensions. But if the elite say, look, we've got a Guinea-Bissau to build, we are very low at the bottom of development index. How do we provide water to our people? How do we ensure the fishery economy is on the coast on the Atlantic Ocean? So you have a lot of fishery activities, tourism going on. So if you have a crisis now, we're going to have a problem. The election crisis they had in Kenya some years ago had to be resolved, because Kenya essentially is a tourist. A huge part of their national income comes from tourism. So if you have a crisis in your country, nobody's going to visit, and that would really impact on your development processes. So elites in Guinea-Bissau, could they say, look, let's find a power sharing formula. You elect a Madinka, you elect a Balanta, you elect a Fula, and order. Just find a way of managing those tensions. Tensions will always be there. Find a creative way of managing it. Because if you don't manage it, it will implode, and if it implodes, that will become a big issue, going forward. So what I'm saying essentially is part of the challenge. Part of the key challenge is that what you call elites must be responsible.
All right, we're going to talk about all of those factors a little more elaborately, but let's take a quick break, everyone. The rest of the program will return shortly.
Sorry.
All right, so let's talk about the real situation on the ground as it has to do with the people of Guinea-Bissau now, beyond the politics and politicking. The World Bank, IMF, and other similar institutions have again and again referred to Guinea-Bissau as a poverty-stricken country. What is the implication of this series of military interventions on such a nation?
I think there's no doubt that the economy of Guinea-Bissau will suffer. It will be there will be a huge setback on the development of the country. In my head now, I'm already thinking, what will 2026 economic outlook for Guinea-Bissau be like? Look like? There's going to be obviously sanctions. ECOWAS, I'm sure, in the next few days would roll out sanctions or would set up mediation team. African Union would do that. United Nations, all kinds of whatever, multilateral institutions. Now, the new military administration in Guinea-Bissau, what will be their capacity to negotiate a transition? Now, take for instance in Mali, they have been moving these transitions severally. So the impact will be huge on the ordinary people of Guinea-Bissau. Remember, I talked about elite consensus.
Right.
So if the elite say, look, these people down at the bottom, what you call people at the bottom of the pyramid, if they care for them, they should find a quick way of resolving this. But I tell you, because of the elites are rapaciously, fighting for power, they may not likely resolve it. And there also could be people who benefit from this political crisis. And like is said often, most of the people in the elite class have a second passport. So should the country fail, they have where to go to because of their privileged position. But it's the ordinary people most often who suffer when you have such crisis. But I think instead of ECOWAS, Economic Commission, Community of West African States, or the African Union imposing sanctions, the first thing they should think of is the ordinary people of Guinea-Bissau. They could find a way of calling the political elite together and say, look, how do we resolve it? And a return to constitutional order as quick as possible. A transition. Perhaps look at the constitution of Guinea-Bissau. Can a sitting president or an incumbent make such laws that will exclude other political actors from participating? Because it has a way of generating anger, within a polity. I mean, we've had it in Tanzania. We've had it we had it in Ivory Coast, where sitting presidents, in fact, that of Ivory Coast is annoying. You have Alassane Ouattara come into power as an opposition leader. So in order to consolidate power, I mean, the constitution was clear, 2-term presidency.
And you're done.
And what happened was that he nominated a successor who suddenly died ahead of the election. He suddenly realized, look, I am unable to get a successor and, who would take over because he had little or no time, a month to the election.
Right.
And he quickly impressed on the National Assembly to change the constitution, giving himself an additional, a limitless tenure. And at the moment, he's on the 3rd, 4th tenure. And the annoying thing again is that Alassane Ouattara used to be vice president, deputy managing director of IMF.
Right.
He's coming from a top-level multilateral institutions. So it means that Africans occupy top positions, but they don't imbibe democratic culture. So that's annoying.
Okay, let's now talk about what we have seen with countries like Niger Republic, Mali, Burkina Faso. They've said they're done and dusted with the French authorities. They don't want French entities having influence on their soil and all of that. In fact, they formally pulled out of ECOWAS. However, on the other hand, we've seen now that these military men who have taken over power, who now say they're in full control in Guinea-Bissau, saying that, look, the reason they had to intervene is to ensure that they clarify things, whatever that means. First, do you trust that process? And second, don't you see Guinea-Bissau going the same route as these other countries within West Africa?
Based on hindsight, from empirical evidence of what has happened in the other African countries, I don't see the junta in Guinea-Bissau living perhaps 3 years. Because they would want to first look at reviewing the constitution, ensuring there's order and stability. You also don't blame them in a situation where you had two people laying claim to presidency. The constitution of Guinea-Bissau is clear, 50% and above.
To be declared the winner.
To be declared the winner. So either the two leading candidates were not sure, or one of the candidates had it, either the incumbent or the...
Or maybe one suspected foul play on the part of the other one.
Yeah, yeah. He now said, look, if I sit here, I may not get the support of the international community. Right. I may not get the support of the election observers. Let me resort to self-help, because that's essentially what it is. When a candidate declares himself winner ahead of the formal announcement. But again, the curious thing is that the incumbent president, I expected the opposition to declare themselves to have won the election, not an incumbent. Incumbents in most often will stay back and wait for an official result, like it happened in Cameroon. Paul Biya, his party never declared themselves winner. They stayed back. Rather, it was the Issa Chiroma Bakare that declared himself ahead of the formal announcement. But incumbents in Cameroon stayed back. Obviously, what I think, they were sure they won the election. So they didn't really need to resort to self-help. So, do you know the bigger problem is even at Guinea-Bissau next door neighbor, Guinea-Conakry, where the current military junta has amended the constitution. There's a new constitution, and he has excluded the key leading political parties and candidates from the election. And I'm sure in the next few weeks, election is done, and he declares himself the winner, and we might end up with this. But my worry is that ECOWAS leaders, African leaders, do not act ahead of time. They don't get what you might call early warning signs to find a way of engaging.
Or is it possible to get those signs but just decide to ignore?
Well, if they are democratic, they should find mechanism for addressing those grievances ahead of time. Because if in the next couple of months there will be election, I think in December or so, election in
Uganda?
No, in Guinea.
In Guinea.
Guinea-Conakry.
Yes, they have the election coming up.
In December. And we might end up with this. Because the president, the incumbent military junta, who now wants to transform himself to a civilian president,
wearing suit and a tie,
has completely excluded political parties. In fact, the new constitution says all existing political parties are excluded. All existing political actors are excluded.
Narrowing the window for participation.
For himself. Because I've been following that development closely. I was doing a study on election and stability across Africa. I've been following it closely. So I can tell you the next crisis point will be in Guinea-Conakry. But the African leaders, either, like you said, either maybe they feel, well, we don't need to intervene. They are not engaging, but you can engage and say, look, if you are doing a constitutional amendment that excludes other political actors, you can't call that a democracy.
It appears this is not just a problem that is exclusive to West Africa. Some observers, experts like yourself, say that all eyes also need to be on Uganda, where there's an election already scheduled again for January. The incumbent, who has been there since 1986, virtually 4 decades now, talking about Museveni Yoweri, a man who had already been in power when Bobby Wine, the lead opposition guy, was only 3 years old. He's now saying that he wants to run again. In fact, he's now the chairman of his party while continuing to be the incumbent president. Bobby Wine, 43, is a musician, has a lot of following, strong following on the ground. Some people say it's a cult following that he has. The last time there was an election in that country, Bobby Wine and some of his lead supporters were beaten and detained. Nobody has an idea how this is going to turn out. Election is in a few weeks away. There are people who say that if the AU does not do something specific and drastic at this point, Uganda will likely go the way of these other countries like Guinea-Bissau. Is that your sentiment?
Well, Uganda, incidentally, the irony of Uganda is Comrade Yoweri Museveni was a student union leader.
Right.
He was one of the leading opposition leader. In fact, he had to go embark on a bush war for several years before he finally emerged victorious in 1986. But you know, the irony, power is like honey. The more you lick, the more, the sweeter it becomes. So if you ask me, my prognosis is Museveni may end up either winning the election or declaring himself the winner of the election, extending his rule for another term. But again, what will be the love of the ordinary Ugandans? The thing about Africans, some years ago I read a piece by the late Nigerian journalist Dan Agbase. He said the problem of corruption in Africa, he was talking about leadership and corruption, is that the present political leaders in Africa have the mindset of a monarch. A monarch thinks, because monarchy means that the entire thing in the community belongs to the king. The king has rights. In fact, you don't have citizens, you have subjects. It means he can decide their fate. That's one of the Nigerian monarchy traditions in the south, where I'm told if the Oba is going on the street and sees a beautiful woman and points to that woman, they will take it.
She becomes his wife.
She becomes his wife. That's what you have in Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. The man has over 30 or 28 wives. So on the street, oh, this is a beautiful damsel, please get her to the palace. So that's the behavior of the leaders, African leaders. That's their mindset. So there's no difference between their money, private money, and the public money. So, and the monarch, the moment he's elected, is for life. You don't need to revalidate whether he's providing leadership well or not. So most people who come as leaders in Africa, whether as opposition leaders, civil society leader, or whatever have you, the moment they get power, they want to consolidate. A typical example is out there in Zambia. We had Kenneth Kaunda, who was in power for 25 years. They had one party state. Then there was this push to get a multi-party democracy in Zambia. And it suddenly happened. He had a successor. The successor, incidentally, was the labor union leader. The labor union leader, when he became president, became an authoritarian leader, an autocrat. So essentially, perhaps we may need to review this practice of liberal democracy in Africa. Do we really need it? Can we have a consensus and say, well, perhaps let's return back to the traditional leadership where you elect a king or a monarch, whatever name you want to give it, and when he's there, whoever gets there for life until maybe the Almighty calls the person. Because that's the challenge we are having all over Africa. Democracy looks like something very foreign to Africa.
Maybe that's the reason you find some people who are now saying that we probably need to either find a way to make our democracy, just find an indigenous alternative, or better still, we ask ourselves what exactly works for us, because for a continent of about 54 countries, there's no way we can make progress with all of these military interventions that we're finding across Africa right now. I would like to say a big thank you to you, Emmanuel Zamena, for coming to share these very valuable thoughts with us on the program this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Right. Just to remind you that this is what we're living it, and the views of our guests on all our programs, their opinions. The team here on Global Morning, we say we're grateful to you for making this broadcast possible. On behalf of Ramsey Inokabo, my colleague and co-anchor, I am Uyi Agmofwe, saying thank you for watching our broadcast of programs on Global Television. Now continues.